Dinner has been served. 8 o'clock in the morning, ready for a pizza. Are you hungry? Yes, food combining is very important for the body. I mean, technically I shouldn't be eating a pizza at 8 o'clock in the morning. Food combinations are very important, and not to eat certain foods with certain foods. Also, sex is very important, as in what sex we are. And most people will tell you that there's two types of people in this world. There's males and there's females. But then there's other people that you see on the street that don't look like a male, don't look like a female, and you think to yourself, what are they? They must be one or the other. They must be male or female, but yet I still don't know what they look like. What they are exactly. They look like in the middle. They look like they've got no sex. They look like it looks like a guy, but then there's breasts, so what? Or it looks like a girl, but then there's facial hair, so what? What are they? Then there's behaviors of human beings. Some human beings are just, very hard to explain. You don't know where they're coming from. Why are they acting like that? And a lot of it can be explained by science. When scientists study these areas, and guten appetit, oops. And so I think it's very important that intersex people like myself, people that look male but aren't male, totally male. I mean, I'm not totally male. I've got female characteristics physically and up here, and so opening up the discussions which bring about natural arguments and natural fights basically amongst each other. The intersex community people do fight amongst each other quite regularly. Now, on the terms of Turner syndrome, females, because they look like females, just like the Klinefelter syndrome, males such as myself, because we look like males, but I do firmly believe that anything, as in anybody, that has a difference genetically, behaviorally, psychologically, emotionally, genetically, hormonally, if you have a difference to the norm standards of what a specific stereotypical perfect specimen of male is, and then the perfect example for a stereotypical female is, then if you differ from those two, then you're intersex, in my opinion. When I first came across intersex, the word, it was about 5 years ago now. I'd been living, I'd say, about 6 years, roughly, 6 to 8 years, not knowing what intersex was, never even heard of it. Then my mother saw a documentary of these two XXY guys who live as women, and they said that they're intersex. And when I saw that documentary, my eyes just popped open and I went, now that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm like. And because I saw the two XXY guys there living as technical women, because again they would look like women now, but then they'd look a bit like women that stereotypically, terrible to say this but true in the minds of many people, stereotypically ugly women, or else women that just don't totally look like women. They look like they're half and half, or that they're males dressed up in women's clothes. You see, this is a whole area that we need to discuss. Males wearing women's clothes? Huh? I mean, I can half agree with the fact that somebody might be considered a male, but I can't agree at all that clothes that people put on to cover their nakedness for fashion or for practical purposes would be categorized into female or male clothes. Surely clothes are just clothes. And think of all the the Indians and the Arab people wearing kind of cloak type, dress type things, completely normal. You see, it's about culture, it's about understanding of the human being, depending on environment where you live, then also on environment depending on the pollution in the air and the water and stuff that mothers will eat and drink, and it'll affect their baby, which is theory number one for why any syndrome such as Klinefelter syndrome actually takes place in the first place. One theory. Second theory, just evolution. It's meant to be. We're meant to be different, so that maybe we can filter the problems down between what males and females are having with each other for the last few centuries. Talk about female revolution and the fact that women had hardly any rights written down till quite recently, and in the last century, and so we've been quite slow in getting rights for everyone. I'm going to go back again to this point of intersex, and when I discovered intersex, I thought, well, this totally explains me. And I was telling anybody and everybody that I met throughout my years, and I was meeting a lot of people daily because I'm very social, and telling them always that I'm XXY and yes, blah blah blah. And then intersex came in and I went, yes, that's exactly what I am, intersex. And then as I discovered more about intersex, I realised that there was other groups out there calling themselves intersex that were not genetically different, but it was more on the sex point. And that's why I understand that there's confusion with the word intersex among the world's community, because at one point intersex was used for sexual activity point and not so much what I would call it. Plus, if you look in medical literature and stuff, and I wouldn't call it literature, but they'd call it literature, wouldn't they? They think it's poetry in motion. I think it's a joke. Most of it in medical points is a joke. It's a joke because it's not analysed thoroughly enough. Anyway, intersex basically to do with Klinefelter syndrome. It is termed intersex. Klinefelter syndrome is in there under intersex. So is Turner syndrome under those things of intersex. Yet Klinefelter syndrome males, very adamant males they are. I'm a man, don't tell me any otherwise. Right? They are very against being called intersex. They don't want that association. They don't want to have to tell people they're XXY and then people Google it and then they find out intersex and they think, oh, that they're sex fetish people or something like that. That's probably one of the biggest reasons. Second of all, they want to just be called men because simply if they're like, hate to say it, pussy men, like any kind of like weak men in a man's world, then obviously they're screwed, so I can understand all of these things, but I will disagree with each and every single XXY man out there telling me that they're a male, because simply I believe and I know that we're not, and the most stereotypical muscly man in the world, doing manly things and whatever, has still got a bit of feminine in him. He's still got a bit of feminine characteristic or something in there. Something that man does is female. Something. Anything. It could be anything. And that makes him automatically intersex. You see, we shouldn't be categorising anymore into the 22nd and 23rd centuries that this planet consists of just males and females. It's just too restrictive. And the transsexuals in the world prove that point by saying to the world, well, look, I can't live in the body that I was born in. God made me this way. My parents made me this way. I'm half and half of my mother and father. But yet, I can't live this way. I need to be somebody else. I need to change my body. Because if I don't change my body, I can't enjoy myself and I can't be treated the way I want to be treated. That's what it is in a nutshell, if you ask me. Transitioning is so that the human population can start to treat the individual like they want to be treated, because there are strict ways in which we deal with males and how we deal with females. Now Now it's slowly going, this romantic fairy tale picture, and reality is going out the window with the prince coming for the princess on the white horse business, you know. But still, women are treated with a lot more, let's say, respect, only because men in general want to get into their pants, let's be clear. And women have doors open for them still, pretty much. But there's been a lot of change, and this 11-minute video won't cover all that change. But certainly I'm looking forward to discussing things like this in more depth with more people. And finally there are other XXYs which are important but not essential to come, that are coming onto YouTube and staying, which is the point. Come and stay and be cool, because we're all in it together. Peace to the world, honest to God, and learn as you go. Ciao.